Start katha or some more bhajan can be sung?
You decide. Want some more bhajan?
Katha. Radha Madhava, do you sing?
Sure.
Did you sing already?
No, not really.
You can play guitar?
Okay.
Give me some katha.
If you give me the first tone, I will find it.
Jayo Radha Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabho Jayo Girivaro Dhari Jai Girivaro Dhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaro Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabho Jayo Girivaro Dhari Jai Girivaro Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaro Dhari Jaya Girivaro Dhari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jai Yashoda Nandano Jaya Braja Jana Ranjano Jaya Yashoda Nandano Jaya Braja Ranjana Yashoda Nandano Jaya Braja Jana Ranjano Jai Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jai Braja Jana Ranjana Hey Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jai Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Jana Tiravanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari
Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Hey Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Nitai Gaurango Nitai Gaurango Nitai Gaurango
Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga
Nitai Gaurango Nitai Gaurango Jai Nitai Gaurango
Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
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 Radhe Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe 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 Madan Mohan Radhe 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 Madan Mohan Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Madan Mohan Radhe 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 Madan Mohan Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Madan Mohan Radhe 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 Madan Mohan Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Madan Mohan Radhe 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 Madan Mohan Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Gopinath Radhe 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 Gopinath Radhe
Radhe Radhe Gopinath Radhe 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 Gopinath Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Gopinath Radhe 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 Gopinath Radhe
Radhe Radhe Gopinath Radhe 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 Gopinath Radhe
Jai Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Jai Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Jai Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Nitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakham Nitanscha Krishna Radhe Krishna Mahaprabhu Sri Nityananda Kadamba Sri Vaishnava First of all, I offer my prostrated loving obeisance to the lotus feet of my Guru Pada Padma, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhara Deva Goswami Maharaj, and pray for His divine mercy on me, in my life, and then I also offer my most respectful obeisance to both their divine graces, my great Siksha Gurus, Paramahansa Sisila, Abhay Charanara Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj and Paramahamsa Sishila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. Offer my wholehearted obeisance to all my Guru Bhargava, Rupanuga Guru Bhargava, Saparshad, Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada. Praying to the lotus feet. His Divine Grace, my Parama Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, for His Divine Mercy to be bestowed, showered upon me, upon you all. Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nityananda. My loving regards to all of you, the good hearts assembled here. My special feelings of gratitude, loving regards goes to Shivananda Das Prabhuji for his so much sincerity and loving care for me and for all of us here. Shivananda Das Prabhu, very nice name, befitting to his holy nature. Gaur Hari Bol. Any specific query from anyone? And I can just begin my Krishna Katha, Bhagavat Katha in response to the specific query.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Yesterday you spoke about two types of Atma. That is, living entity, the Jivatma, even though you didn't call it Jivatma, you said you spoke about the two types. So I suppose it is the Jivatma and Paramatma. So when the body ends, the Jivatma goes with the subtle body. What happens to the Paramatma? Does it go with the Jivatma or does it continue on?
There is no such hard and fast rule described in the Holy Scriptures about the journey of Jivatma, Paramatma exactly together after the death of the material body. They take journey together or not. Okay? But anyway, it can be either ways. If Paramatma, a direct expansion of Supreme Lord Krishna, can travel with the Jivatma, can make a journey alongside Jivatma after the death of the material body. If he wishes, may not also travel, may join later. So cannot really confine the fact, cannot really limit that fact of their journey, whether they will always take together or separately. But at some point they will definitely meet each other. That is for sure. But whether that they are bound to take journey together, travel together, no clear explanation about that, clear information about that is given in the scripture. Like that. Yet they remain subtly interrelated. The same Paramatma who was living with the same Jivatma remains interconnected, interrelated. They will meet again. They'll be meet again together. But what I mean, they may or may not take the journey together. Because after the death of the material body, individual jiva soul, the spirit soul, gets posted in another species of life, either gets liberated, achieves liberation, if he or she engaged in very high class pious karma, virtuous activities, spiritual activities, or instead of receiving liberation, can be posted according to the law of karma in certain species of life. But then Paramatma will join over there. Same expansion of Paramatma staying with the Jivatma in that way. Again, when I say same Paramatma will join, it doesn't necessarily mean there are so many innumerable numbers of Paramatma like Jivatma. It's a very mystical reality. The reality about Paramatma is more mystical, needs to be understood more mystical way, realized in more mystical, vast ways rather than compared to the individual unit of the spirit in the form of Jivatma. Spirit soul, they are very individual unit. Paramatma may not be divided into units, individual units. Therefore, the way our Guru Varga, or Guruji explained about the functioning or representation of the Paramatma beside Jivatma is like same sun in the sky giving lights on so many roofs of the residence, so many places. Basically, it's the same sun, but spreading its light on so many roofs of the residence, so many places, so many parts, of a particular region at a time, through its illuminating rays, through rays emanating. But all the rays basically emanating from the same sun. So that's kind of ways of manifestation of Paramatma. That's Guruji was just giving some example to give us some idea to understand. It may not always fully explain the very mystical ways of the manifestation of super soul in our life. Gives us some idea towards, so that we have some understanding about that. Same sun illuminating different places at the same time, together. That's how it is to be understood. It needs to be realized that there is one Paramatma, as one expansion of Krishna, like a bright sun in the sky, self-effulgent sun in the sky. The same sun like divine sun in the form of Paramatma, spreading lights, manifesting in the lives of different jivas besides jiva soul, in the form of expansions. like found in the rays. Rays are not different from the sun. At the same time, then each ray is not exactly the original sun. It's a portion. Each ray emanating from sun is a portion of the sunlight, although it is inseparable from the sun. A similar way, same super hues, rather, same infinite Paramatma Tattva is expanding in form of different rays, expanding its representations, its existence, or in other words, expanding itself in different individual rays or forms to stay beside Jivatma. Okay. But exactly, although I'm saying making individual representation, unit of representation, yet Paramatma is not actually divided into individual units like the Jivatma, spirit soul. Okay, again some oneness and distinction, the nature of oneness and distinction simultaneously found, very mystical. Simultaneous oneness and distinctions in character of manifestations, nature of manifestation. Expanding more like through individual unit, individual form to stay beside each, in each body of the living being besides spirit soul Jivatma, at the same time cannot really be considered to be individual unit. Basically it's an expansion. Because you can see, even if I give you an example, when you closely look at the sun, and how all the rays from the sun emanating, sometimes the rays from the sun emanating very close to each other. It's like, so it's emanating in the form of a big undivided halo. Yeah? Halo, yes, luster in the beginning. Then some points it's getting divided into different rays. But in the originating point, okay, at their source, at the source of all the rays, they are all connected together, very closely connected together. Then at some point they are getting slightly separated, very mystical ways. That's the kind of, okay, that is it's a kind of ways Paramatma reveals, manifests. You can get some idea, but it's more mystical, actually. Okay.
So the Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter, specifically when Krishna is describing the soul, it is more the Jivatma that he's describing, isn't it? And he's, like for instance, when he's talking about Nainam, Chinnanti, Shastrani,
Right.
Is it the Jivatma that is being referred to here more than the Paramatma?
Yes, exactly. True. Paramatma mentioned this. Upadashta anumanta cha bharta bhakta mahisa. Yes. Guide come, loving guardian, not interfering with the free will of jiva soul, but at the same time, beside Paramatma, beside the Jivatma, always living beside Jivatma, in interrelationship as caring guardian. That is the role of the Paramatma. But it doesn't directly interfere in the free will of the jiva soul, and there will be no real free will. Each and every jiva soul is born with innate free will, innate function of the free will. In other words, is endowed. Each and every jiva soul is endowed with the free will from the very beginning. So Supreme Lord doesn't want to interfere with that free will unless there is specific necessity for him to intervene. So he leaves the choice before each and every jiva soul, good or bad. Okay, he leaves a choice. And sometimes there are options open before the jiva soul to go through different stages of experience of life, have lessons, different lessons, experiences about the life, world, universe, through comparative study. And then, out of his or her own choice, own loving choice, coming to Krishna, coming to the Supreme Lord. That's the way Lord wants also. Because love, the love divine, the love for God cannot be made by Lord, then he does everything what we do. If Krishna creates everything, if Krishna does everything for us, then what we do, what is our function? So the nature of love service has to be manifested out of his own accord, on one's own. Because love means it is done, it is felt with full freedom, a free, blissful choice. That's how love comes. Love never is something, love is never something is imposed or created, by others. Love, true love originates from one's own self, from one's own free, joyful choice of free nature, with full freedom. That's one of the characteristics of pure love. It has to come up, it has to be born on its own, with beautiful freedom, choice. So that's why Krishna also doesn't interfere with that function. If Lord Krishna creates some love for his own self in the heart of every jiva soul, then he is doing it. What that jiva soul offers to Lord on his or her own, with free loving choice. Krishna is not satisfied with that. Suppose, for example, parents feel so satisfied, parents feel so joyful, so delighted when their sons and daughters running to them to give hug, to give a kiss, and hugging on their own will. Not that parents say, come, you have to come to me and give me a hug, give me a kiss, you have to do it, you should do it, why you are not doing? They never force, because it doesn't happen that way, it's not natural. Even if they do with their children, they won't feel satisfied with it. But they will feel so satisfied and so delighted, so happy when the children, small babies, just come running towards them on their own with spontaneous love feelings. It is solely coming from them, not that created by the parents. Whether parents or other lovers, partners, love partners, or anybody. So back to the point, the great treasure, we have got a great treasure in our life, priceless treasure in the form of love divine. That has to be born from one's own heart, heart's feelings. Not created even by Lord. Lord can help that, inspire it, but cannot, doesn't want to create. Then there is no taste in that. He is making that for himself. It's not an offer. It's not a loving offer, okay, from that jiva, from his children. So then real lila is not possible. And for another example, if you start playing a game on your own, no real opposition, like start playing a game like chess or some cards, you are just doing on your own. You are pretending to be, okay, you are pretending to be like, yes, right, both sides, okay, yourself and the opposition. You don't enjoy for long. You don't enjoy that game for long, because it's basically you who is thinking both ways. You are trying to act against yourself as, how do you say, plaintiff and defendant, playing the role of, same person playing the role of being plaintiff and defendant. There's no real joy, no real taste in that, because you always, no real thrill and challenge in that game, because both sides you know. Side of your own defensive game and attacking game as the form of, you know both. So no real taste. Also similar for Supreme Lord. When he creates all loving devotion for himself in the heart of others, he doesn't feel much taste. He's not so much interested in that. It's created by him. So he likes to give a jiva soul full freedom, full freedom, free will, to make a choice, make a loving choice, to come close to him, to relate to him, intimate love feelings. That's what Krishna relishes a lot. He wants that. That's how the ecstatic lila, love sports take place. Love pastimes between a jiva soul, between Atma Paramatma, between Krishna and Krishna devotees manifest. Okay. Which is so full of blissful relish, nectarian relish. Okay. Any other query relating to the same topic?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Oh, you're like treasure house of so many queries. Okay.
I don't know if I misunderstood you yesterday, but did you say that when the consciousness levels drop quite a bit, you could go into becoming a tree or even a rock? In that sense, then the rock would not have a jivatma. Where is the opportunity for the rock then to come back and start loving Krishna?
Very good question. And besides this, okay, I would like to give you some special appreciation in the first place. You know for what? That you followed my class. You attentively followed my class, many important points, and you remember it. I really appreciate that. Those who have such attention, caring attention, can learn so many things, can be really benefited. Okay, true. Again, the nature of my answer to such question also will be very, very mystical nature, of mystical nature. It's true that a jivatma, no jivatma really truly lives, truly remains in the form of a stone, inside stone or in mountain, but exclude tree, because in each and every tree jivatma dwells, because tree is living being, considered very living being, a different state of consciousness, different dimension of, different levels of consciousness. Okay, because the case of okay, when we go to analyze the cases of the trees, nature of the trees, they're quite living being, but the nature of the level of consciousness manifest in them is more covered, more or less like a covered form or suppressed form, not so sharp, not so so prominent and sharp like human beings or other animals. Yet they do have. The trees do have feeling, thinking, willing, feelings of pains and pleasure, feelings of life, trees. So the tree category of the living beings is quite different from the category of the stones and mountain or earthly stuffs. Now, each and every tree has got Atma and Paramatma in them. But as regards existence of, as regards the ways of the manifestation of consciousness in the mountain or stones or earthly stuffs, it is consciousness is there, but it happens very, it is there, but mystically, in a very mystical way, not as a like separate unit of spirit soul as jivatma, but in a way all pervading, in a way pervading the whole mountain, pervading the whole stone, in the form of consciousness, inert consciousness, energy form of consciousness. Very difficult to conclude whether there is life in stone or not. In one way, it looks like they have no life. On the other hand, in another way, it can also be felt there is some conception of life, of some dimensions, unlike human dimensions of life, unlike life manifests in the human lives or other lives. So, because we can see a stone can grow, it can decay. Many of the earthly stuffs can grow on their own through natural process and can also decay. So wherever there's some activities, actions and reactions are found, can be concluded some sort of concept of life or conscious activities are there. It's a different concept of life. Understand? Different level of consciousness, completely different dimension. Cannot compare with the concept of the human life. Okay. Anything which is existent, anything which has got an entity, anything in the universe which has got an entity, an existence, which has some activities of action and reactions in its being, into its existence, can also conclude that some form of life is manifesting there in the form of like inert consciousness, more sprayed, pervading consciousness all through the existence, instead of an unit jiva soul. Okay, that's how it's to be realized. You know, it's a ever fresh, ever new, or ever old question. Life comes from matter, or matter comes from life? Whether life comes from matter, or matter comes from life? If we understand the basic reality, fundamental realities about the interrelationship between matter, material existence, and living existence, such question will not arise. Okay. Because we can also present the both forms of consciousness, whether in the form of matter or in the form of life. In this way, when the material aspects of the realities becomes subtle to subtler and subtlest, reach these very subtle dimensions of existence, it becomes life. I repeat, when the material concept of existence start transforming, start getting converted into a subtle to subtlest form of energy, just becomes consciousness, comes on the plane of life. And when the life manifests, more gross to grossest level becomes matter. You can also view in this way. In other words, the subtlest form of the matter is life. Subtlest energy form of the material being is called consciousness. Okay, called energy, consciousness, which manifests life energy. Because life energy is very, very subtle. It's not something gross like a matter you can hold in hand or touch or smell. Very, very subtle life energy. And the grossest form of the life energy becomes matter. So interrelated. When you scientifically analyze a matter, when you go to analyze the inner nature of the matter, the subtle nature of the matter in a very scientific way, go down to the level of quantum physics and all. See, there things look like very living and active. Even the scientists cannot exactly decide which way. They cannot exactly, define the prefixed ways of the movements of the, molecules, atoms, the quantum physics level. They're so subtle, sometimes they catch our willpower. You are thinking this way, or it is moving in this particular way. The next moment as you are thinking, it may move that way. It is catching the thought vibration. It starts moving in a different way. So whether it catches the subtle vibration of the will force of the human being, scientist, or not, it is still covered with mystery. Mysterious, covered. But it happens. This moment they're seeing, okay, they're moving in this particular manner in this way. As soon as they are going to write down, okay, this is their natural course and this is the process system they follow, the next moment they're seeing, oh, they have changed ways of the movement. They're not following exactly the same system. All the time changing and changing. multifarious dynamics ways. You never know. You cannot really completely control them by the mathematics and in a particular system on that level. See? Very difficult to have a stagnant decision, stagnant conclusion about the ways of the movement and nature changing, of that of dynamic nature. Why I am giving this example? Because that's found in the subtlest level of material analysis about the matter, atomic level. So scientists meet the matter as some consciousness, just as very subtlest form of energy form. And when energy form becomes very, very subtle, it becomes as good as consciousness, life force. They're so interrelated. One can be transformed into other by the higher laws of the nature. Okay, so when you understand this reality, interrelated, inseparable reality, then what is the concept of life and matter? When you reach the origin, this very root, very origin, from that marginal plane of the origin, both comes from the same origin. Both manifesting from the same origin, whether life or matter. Sometimes some of the matters can be explained as different dynamics of life, more gross dynamics of the life. Okay. So, this is what it is. So when the argument comes, whether life comes from matter, matter comes from life. Okay. Both come from the, we can say, right, basically life comes from life, matter comes from matter. That's how we see in the creation. Matter produces another matter. Yeah. Life produces life. That's the way it is normally. But on certain cases, under certain situations of the, like certain levels of chemical mutations, the physical mutations or fine chemical mutations, life and matter gets closely related. They can become transformed into each other's existence. Also possible. Such as, for example, this body. Although we call it as a material body, is it true it is completely a material body? Because matter cannot work by its own self. A true concept of the matter is like dead, some dead substance. It cannot work, it cannot activate, it cannot be activated on its own strength. Oh no, because it's just matter. In order to be activated, some life force is required. Okay, a dead thing, something like something dead. In a relative sense, I'm saying matter is not dead really, but just for comparative study, I have to speak in a relative sense, relative way. Something dead cannot be activated on its own, cannot be active. It needs the help of the spirit, of the energy to get activated. So, it's true. After the death, our body becomes, relatively, it is really considered to be material body. But as long as this material body is in connection, living in close connection and relation with the spirit, soul, life energy, despite the fact it has material aspect, but it cannot be called just material body, because in every cell, okay, in its protoplasm level, in each and every cell, molecules, spirit is there, spirit is working, life force is working all through our material body. Therefore, it is living. as soon as that spirit leaves from the material body, then within few seconds this process of fermentation starts. That makes the difference between spirit soul, our conscious self, our real spirit, our real self in the form of spirit soul, and the material body. We can make the separation, only at discrimination, clear discrimination. Only at that point, otherwise. So back to the point. Although we speak in a relative sense of material body, right now, because of its material nature, it's very true. This is material body, but in each and every cell of the material form, spirit is dwelling, consciousness working, life, energy working. That's why body is living. So it's not completely material. It's a living body, filled with life force on different dimensions. See how interrelated, intertwined they are. Sometimes matter and spirit, spirit and matter, how interrelated, inseparably interrelated are they, matter and spirit. How do all their functionings in interrelated way. That is the original reality. Gaur Hari Bol.
I have a small follow-up question. When you're talking about this life energy, like a fine material energy which is close to consciousness, you're talking about the Sanskrit term prana.
Okay, before going to answer your question, I have not yet completed answering how. So back to the point, when I was describing, there is some function of spirit, even inside stone or mountain, in the form of mountain or earthly things, but in the form of all pervading consciousness, a consciousness being pervading them. Okay. How do you say, like permeating all over the existence of stone, existence of mountain existence. That. So I mean, yeah, there is real consciousness in them too. Because anything which is born, which grows, and which dies, decays in course of time, has got some sign of activities. It doesn't stay in the same way. It changes, it goes to mutations and even changes. Wherever we find actions and reactions, there is activity of, it is a function of consciousness. And what happens? When that same mountain one day, same mountain, big mountain like Alps or Himalayas, will be diluted in this space, will just be converted into energy form. When the whole, as we die, one day Mother Earth will also die. Okay, whole universe, the planetary system, all the galaxies, all the different galaxies, of the whole planetary system, universe will die one day, and will be just simply will be converted into energy, will be diluted in the space, and will just simply be converted into energy form. See how the matter can be completely converted into just pure energy form like Parama Brahma. So after the Mahapralaya, not Khanda Pralaya, you are Indian, so you will understand the terms. But Mahapralaya, whole universe gets like evaporated or diluted in the space, transformed into the pure energy form. At that time only whole creation, at that form, all the conception of entity, whether life or matter, everything remains in the form of energy, like cosmic energy. Okay. I repeat, on that state, all the conception of the existence of being, let me put this way, conception of the being or existence just remains in the form of energy. It's very, very subtle energy in this space all over. And there is nobody, at that time nobody remains to realize about time, space. Everybody gone. Only absolute mind remains. Only absolute God, the absolute truth remains at that time as the realizer, and who is also going to play the role of further creator after that, Mahapralaya. So, after Mahapralaya, okay, all types of material existence just becomes transformed into energy form and just stays for a while according to the will of the Supreme, all pervading superpower. And then at some point, from his will force, from his willpower, again, from that dimension of the being, that from that energy form, energy dimension of the being, where the future creation is remaining in the form of prospects, like future prospects, supersede form, okay, like superseding seed level. I can put this way also. Superseding seed level form. Then by the willpower of the Supreme Divine, and again creation starts manifesting. Okay, from that level, again manifesting in a more material way, as material universe. See, the reason I describe this to you, that matter becomes transformed into energy at that point. Like when the scientists go down to the deeper level of the atoms, there's no much difference between the atoms of wood or stone or some other earthly stuffs, no much discriminations on that. In the basic level. So, suppose when in a circle there is circumference. Repeat, in a circle we find two portions. One represents that of is circumference, other represents is center. Is central point. Actually, the central point manifests in a bigger and bigger way and forms its own circumference. So when suppose some lines are emanating from the central point of a circle and touching its circumference, so at the time of emanating from the central point, they don't have much discrimination, they are all together. But as they come out more and more, travel little distance from each other, then they differentiate. Going towards the circumference, then they get differentiated from each other. But in the very origin, they are not different really. They stay together. Something like that. Something like that. So close relation between life and matter, matter and life. Okay. In its origin, they are all coming from Parama Brahma, which is called as Brahma, all pervading Parama Brahma energy. Okay. So matter in life, life in matter, can also be viewed like that. Our creations are the combination of both, same time, isn't it? Everywhere in this our body we find the combination of life and matter, material aspect and aspect of life in our body. Everywhere we find everywhere more or less we cannot but find the combination of both both aspects, life and matter, whether in stone or earthly stuffs or trees or living beings. Proportion may be different. Proportionate manifestations of the life, how much life force, how much life energy, and how much material stuffs ought to be there, should be there. It varies. Okay, by quantity and quality, that proportion proportion can vary by quality and quantity. Okay, how much matter, how much life should be there. But everywhere it is the combination of life and matter. You cannot show me one example without the combination of both. If you analyze this, it is also a combination of life and matter. It has got energy side also. When you go down to its atomic level, so much actions and reactions are there. Okay. Like heat, science also explains whether heat, light, sound, okay, all basically the transformation of the same energy. Same electricity is causing heat, causing coldness inside the refrigerator. Also is causing heat. Same electricity is being used in so many different ways in our activity, for giving us heat, or giving us cold, for keeping us running, activate to create the motion, okay, to shock us, to help us cooking, help us keeping warm, so many ways, running the fan, so many ways is active. But basically it's the same energy used in different ways. So origin is Parang Brahma. Gyan is realized. The origin of all this is Parang Brahma, all pervading energy form of the Lord. Infinite nature, Parang Brahma. And Super Soul also a great manifestation, representation of the same Parang Brahma. The Parang Brahma, Super Soul, and same reality becomes, not becomes, it's a lingual limited way of saying, same Parang Brahma and Super Soul is also God in personal form. When you can realize the personification, personified form is God. So they are so interrelated, each is the manifestation of the other. Same absolute reality, absolute truth manifests in these three ways. But naturally but the original source of all manifestation is the personal form of God, personality. Because realized souls understand life, the highest concept of the life must have feeling, thinking, willing, realizations. Cannot be like inert energy. Cannot be like blind force, inert energy. Okay. Inert energy like air, like ether. Okay. Like some atomic molecular activities. Inert energy like sound, heat, light, inert energy. They don't have feeling, thinking, willing. At least we don't know. It's not compared to our concept of life, which is filled with feeling, thinking, willing, personal realizations. We cannot conceive the other energy from like light, sound, heat, or air having the same way. Maybe they also have some personal way of feelings in different dimensions, not like ours. Therefore, they are considered like inert. We have to, I'm speaking relative way, relative sense, inert. So, source, the origin of everything cannot be considered like a blind force. Must have personality, must have personal manifested, personal existence. But that is of unlimited nature. When the personality is seen in the absolute truth, absolute infinite truth, the nature of the personality also becomes that of unlimited character and nature, as I explained. It cannot remain confined within our limited idea of the form. Form means it has to be limited. That's the very limited concept of form. A form which is greater than the greatest. A form, concept of the form which is bigger than the biggest, can become a form of the infinite, personality, personal form of the infinite. We cannot conceive, but still it can happen. Although you may not be able to conceive, but a form can be super huge, super huge, super excellently super huge. So huge, like Krishna showed Arjuna in Virata Rupa. And get some idea through that universal form. Arjuna, okay, that Arjuna could get some idea. Arjuna was looking upward, no end. He was looking downward, no end. Looking sideways, no end. On his left, right, upward, downward, no end. In that universal form. And he is finding himself like a dot in the middle somewhere in that whole universal form, and started heroic, so powerful hero like Arjuna started shaking in fear. Okay, in the face of the superpower, in the face of the experience of the whole superpower, he started trembling. He cannot take so much. So overwhelming. It becomes so overwhelming for him. Okay, totally overwhelming, helplessly overwhelming. He had to, at some point, he had to pray to Krishna, please withdraw this. I cannot take it anymore. I cannot bear it anymore. Please withdraw this universal form, and please come back to me as in that original form, so beloved to me, in the form of my beloved friend. Krishna did that. See? So you can get some idea about the form of the infinite truth, about the real personal form of the Supreme God, okay, the Supreme Absolute Truth, from the universal form of Krishna is described in Gita. Okay, so it's a very wrong concept whenever any question of, whenever any context of God's personality, personal form comes, oh, try to judge, oh, right, it must be a limited form. How God can be limited? How God can have a form so limited like ours? It's a very limited, it's our mundane limitation, It's our limited concept about the form. We try to impose that and try to judge God's form. There goes things wrong. Sorry. Where you go? Where you went? Who wanted to?
I did.
No, you wanted to make a question, put a question? Okay, now. You. Your turn. Now I am living in different world. Somebody was just putting a question. I stopped and went back to
Yeah, that was me.
yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Start.
Yeah, this was kind of an intellectual question, so I will actually skip it and ask another one. which I had prepared already. And I'd like to hear what you have to say about chanting. When you chant, how to not be so mental.
Chanting? You mean chanting?
Chanting, japa.
Okay, japa. Mm-hmm.
How to stop these mental fantasies.
If you start having good fantasies, spiritual mental fantasies, you don't need to stop. But in case you start having some fantasies not so suitable to the nature of chanting, then of course you have to find out the ways or make it some way to stop it. Okay. So your question is how to stop fantasies.
No, not only fantasies, but the whole mental chapter. Because when you're making mental noise, this is, I think it's like...
more or less we all experience mental distractions.
Yeah, and when
not only during chanting, during doing so many other things also. Mind is doing its own work, hand is doing its own work. Many places. Sometimes we are focused, sometimes we are not so formally focused on what we are doing, just going on. Many things go on in our life habitual way, following habitual process. We become accustomed to do many things, even without being totally focused. Can happen. Although some background focus is there, with total absent-mindedness, we cannot do any action. Cannot do a particular activity with total absent-mindedness. Okay, so your question is how to control, how to keep control over the mind's roaming here and there, running everywhere. Okay, during chanting, how to focus the mind, okay, on chanting aspects. Yeah, that's the question, or anything else?
That's the question, because I believe the mind is limiting the experience of the holy name. It's limiting, conditioning the experience.
Then you need to appear. And what happens? At that time, at that point, yourself need to appear in different forms. Okay, so then at that time you need to be soul and sit with your mind face to face. Talk to your mind. Do you understand what I mean? You need to sit with your own minds face to face. Okay? On some dimension of your consciousness. Talk to your own self. Talk to your own mind. Please don't do it. Please be serious. Read all the monasikshas of the bhajana composed by the great devotees. Lessons to the mind. Have you ever studied? Have you ever read some of the devotional songs written as like Manashikha, education for the mind? So do it. Have some idea. Sitting. Something, the great lives, great souls, great lives, sit face to face with their mind. Talk to mind. Requesting. Talking to mind in a nice way, sometimes heavy way, sometimes nice way. Trying to make it understand. Okay. Appropriate behaviors. You also follow the same way, similar ways. Sit with your mind, have a nice sitting with your mind, talk to your mind, and just enlighten, request him, oh my mind, my dear mind, My dear friend, please don't do this. It's not good for you to do it. Please be focused on this japa, this chanting of the holy name of the Lord. It will be truly beneficial for you, for my whole self, okay, even for you. Okay, so please be intelligent, be good, behave good, okay, and don't be frivolous, don't be so unruly, undisciplined, unserious, all the time running here and there. Please concentrate on what I am doing now. Help me, be friend to me. Talk like that, one after another. Try to relate to your own mental aspect of yourself. Try to relate, talk to your another aspect of yourself in the form of mind. Okay? With the help of your superior conscience. Do you understand what is superior? The higher aspect of yourself, superior knowledge and conscience, superior sense of your own self. And if you continue doing that, it will be, at some point it will be very helpful for your mind to be peaceful, to be focused on chanting. It happens. Okay, you have to be consciously relating to your own mental self, mental aspect of yourself. Okay. Sometimes in a forceful manner, sometimes nice manner. Whatever way it will be working, you have to feel into the reality, which way it is working. Should apply force to your mind or be nice? Now you are feeling, oh, I'm answering in some kind of nice technical ways, but how to make it work? That's another question. How it really works in reality. How should I talk to my mind? Mind is my own self. How to differentiate between two aspects of the selves? You can make differentiation. And you have to now three aspects of yourself. One, you, relating to soul, relating to mind. Just imagine. It's like, the example is like giving nice massage, taking care of your body with this hand. With this hand you are taking care of this hand. With this hand you are taking care of this hand. Okay. With legs you are taking care of some parts of the body. With brain you are also taking care of the whole body. So all working like an organic whole. All the parts, different limbs of the same body, same existence, helping each other. In a similar way, in your consciousness of yourself, of your own self, there are different aspects. They can also help each other. But it's true, you are not hand, you are not leg, you are not exactly the form of the brain. You are what you are, pervading your whole body. That's the real self, true. But again, there can be different dimensions of realization of your own self. There could be different aspects of your own self-realization. You can consider and feel about yourself into oneness, also into different distinctive levels, in different dimensions, through different dimensions of your own self, consciousness, together, into oneness and distinctions. It is possible. Okay. So, it's like that. When you consider, oh, this is a separate hand helping another hand, because it is a separate entity, it is possible. But when you see the same reality from origin, it's the same body, parts of the same body. So it's not, it is separate at the same time, not totally separate. So interrelated. Yes?
You mean the mind and the soul are interrelated?
Yes. They all have interrelationship. Mind, soul, faculty of intelligence, conscience, sensation of pride, different types of egos, all interrelated. Soul is the real life. Soul is considered to be the real being, real identity. Okay. And others are involved, incorporated with the soul according to the karma, according to some karmic nature. They are incorporated. Some point may be considered like kind of aspect extensions, indirect extensions of soul. I call it indirect extensions of the soul. Very sophisticated to understand all this, mystically sophisticated, but related with the soul. Because soul can stay independent of this body, but body cannot stay independent of the soul. So it is like that. It is that. So just as you help yourself, we often say, we often make expression in this way, help yourself, don't we? God helps those who help themselves. Supreme God helps those who help themselves. So you can help your own self. It is you helping yourself. It's like same self, two different aspects of the same self helping each other. Has to be understood that way. Like your brain is helping your brain. Your faculty of intelligence helping the faculty of intelligence. Your brain is helping your brain's function. Your heart is helping its own function, although they are separate entity, but they are all working in a following organic system. Heart, lungs, brain, liver, stomach. Although they are separate, but if one stops, another will stop. If one of the vital organs stop, yes, it's a matter of time. Another will will stop at some point. See, so interdependent. They are helping each other. If heart stops, all stop. If brain stops, all stop. If lungs stop, all stops. If anything serious happening in our stomach or liver, also lungs, heart, brain, all affected. When brain affected, all these are affected, whole nervous system is affected. Communication system is off. See how interrelated they are? So how should you consider them? One is a total being into oneness. Because if one stops working, another also stops working eventually. So is it a one concept of the being into total oneness? Is it a one reality, one self? Or you should consider them by part, separate entity. Which way? It is both ways. Okay? All separate aspects of the same reality of our life, body, are united into oneness, united within one whole reality. In other words, if you can also go other way around. Okay. Vice versa. You can also conclude accordingly the same reality of oneness, of our one being, is expanding into different separate forms, separate limbs, parts like heart, lungs, stomach, kidney, brain, eyes, ear, all being extended, all these aspects, separate aspects of our body being separately functioning aspects being extended, expanded from the same one being, which is our bodily being. If you cannot go deeper or higher to the soul's level, just bodily being, which you perceive directly. Okay. Or you can also come to the conclusion other way around. But whatever way you conclude, whether from this side you come to this side or from this position you come to this side, you are journeying through the same road of conclusion, because it is one road binding all. One principle of oneness binding all its extension aspects together into oneness. Now back to the point. And so why I am explaining this reality? That you may wonder how myself will sit with myself and talk to, how I will divide myself. That's why I'm explaining. You can help yourself. Your superior self can bring some help to another part of this self, which you can control. So, I give you examples. Sometimes or some intelligent person do, all of a sudden became very angry, became very emotional, and completely controlled by anger, can do something very, very harmful. Then faculty of intelligence or conscience start working. Start talking with himself, no, don't do this, it's not good. Control yourself. Inner voice comes, protects you. It happens in many cases. Some inner voice comes, some help comes from deeper self, deeper level of your conscience, and helps you control your anger. Calm down, settle down, don't do this. You destroy yourself, settle down. Okay. It helps. Understand? So a similar way, it also helps with the mind to control mind to some extent. Now, it's not the one and only way to sit face to face with your mind and talk. So long I just explained only one of the ways to trying to help mind. There are also other ways to have some nice control over your mind, inspire your mind. Other ways, okay. You have your faculty of higher conscience. Okay. So it will be too sophisticated to analyze. Let me put this way, simple way. When after trying a lot to talk to your mind and subject him or her or it to the reason, it doesn't happen. Simply ignore your mind. Differentiate yourself from your mental existence. Just try to ignore your mind, thinking, oh, mind is doing its own work, let me do my own work. When you do that, you just ignore your mind. At some point, you don't give importance to your mental faculty, mental aspect of your being, of your consciousness. So at some point when mind feels, oh, I became so less important. No, I'm given no more importance. I'm just simply ignored. I have no more functioning with him. Then mind also becomes self-controlled in some way, and you can get focused. In other words, let me express in another way. when you separate yourself from the mind, mind, it is the nature of mind, mind is doing its own work, let me do my own work. Okay, I'm not dependent on my mind. Just feel like that. Then you will be discovering, instantly you will be discovering another aspect of self, no less powerful than your mind, and that will help you, help your concentration. Understand? It works. You discover another self, and you go down in the meditation with the help of that aspect of the self, higher than the mind. It's very mystical, related with mind, but at the same time it can be working separate way. And besides that, be prayerful. In order to control mind, you should have positive faith in yourself, in God, and be engaged in prayer to God with the belief, with that faith, deep faith, some help will come from above. Supreme Lord will send some help to control your mind. When you try your best to be prayerful, to be absorbed in prayer, trying to invoke the blessings, making invocation for the higher grace, some point, some help definitely comes from above, from the divine plane. Okay, some help comes from the plane of God, God's world, and helps you settling your mind in a suitable way. That's the other beautiful, very important way. Another way is to remain in the suitable association which will have positive influence over your mind. Like, for example, you're taking my association and you're trying to follow with full focus each and every point I'm analyzing to you, explaining to you. Still your mind is running here and there a little bit, but still it is more or less focused. Unless you are focused, concentrated, you cannot understand me. Cannot understand the explanation, you will miss many points. So your mind is at this point is more or less focused, isn't it? Concentrated, because you are following me, following my ways of explanation. Although certain other aspects of mind is going a little bit here and there. It's natural. Natural. Heart is doing its own work. Brain is doing its own work. Stomach is doing its own work. Kidney is doing its own work. Nervous system is doing its own work at the same time, simultaneously. Everybody is engaged in doing its own work in the organic whole. So, when a certain portion of your mind is focused to hear my explanations, to understand each and every points, certain other aspects of your mind going here and there, just ignore it. Less important. If you focus it on that aspect, then you will be more concerned and worried. Oh, I cannot control my mind. It's all the time running here and there. How can I control my mind? Then that worries will occupy you. Okay, how to control mind, and you will miss your real aim, what you want to focus on. Yes? Just ignore. Do you understand? Do you feel into my answer? You won't intellectually understand it fully. You cannot fully grasp it or understand it intellectual way. You have to feel into the nature of my answer. Then you understand more. Sometimes we need to understand things more deeper through feelings rather than intellectual technical analysis. It doesn't work. At certain position and levels of our life, many of our activities just become instinctive. How do you call it? Reflexive action. Becomes instinctive or reflexive. Not that you have to first think and decide, then you do the action. It's just happening on its own, reflexive way, following its instinct, isn't it? What? Okay. So, our process of cultivation should also be promoted more through spontaneous, instinctive manners required, rather than being so much occupied with all the time with so much technical analysis. Then we lose the instinctive ways, our natural reflexive ways, which is very natural in us. Okay. There are many truths in life just felt in, just realized, understood in intuitive way, just as a baby, just as we find about different realities, okay, in our babyhood, childhood, okay. After the birth of a baby, okay, it naturally looks for mother's milk, search for by intuitive way, without any help of any technical knowledge or analysis. Okay, just everything instinctive, natural, for a baby to cry for the mother's milk. And if you see, if you hold baby close to the mother's bosom, it will find out. Some way or other, it will find out the source of its food automatically. Happens. Okay. Maybe sometimes mother helps when it is looking for, family mother helps, but it is looking for automatically breast milk. So any need it helps, it cries for mother's help. Okay, it cries. And mothers also understand some what baby wanting. That's just a feeling, motherly feelings. Another person may not understand very well the baby's nature so well like a mother. Although baby cannot speak so much. Okay. A baby can reciprocate while it is playful, can very much reciprocate with each other through playfulness, sporting way. It's a little personality. It has its own way of reciprocation. It is very receptive, but it's in its own way. Not yet with with the help of technical language, technical ways of expressions and analysis, but just everything going on intuitively. It feels joy and sadness. It reciprocates in a playful way with the mother and other near and dear ones when you engage in playing with a small baby, infant baby. So joyful. Throws hands and legs and looks at you and smiles in its own way. It's feeling. It has got its whole world, another whole world, no less than our world. Their world of feelings, no less than our world, different dimensions, just different types. But they also have so much feelings, thinking and willing, reciprocation in their own dimensions of consciousness. There you find the example, the migrating birds. Often our Guru Varga use that example, analogy, to explain certain intuitive realities. As it happens in case of the migrating birds, they fly across thousands of miles over the ocean without the help of any compass or radar or any technical knowledge or technical calculation, technical intelligence like human beings. Rather, human beings cannot do it. Human beings are more intelligent than those birds. We take pride as more intelligent being compared to those much more intelligent compared to those birds. But what they have, we don't have. What ability they have, we don't have. We have to take the help of some machines or some calculations, seeing the position of the sun in the sky. Okay. Sometimes it's very difficult to look at the position of this sun in the sky while you are moving over the ocean. You don't see any direction. See all direction, but you don't see any particular direction, very definitive way, east, west, north, south, because you are already in space. So human beings need to take the help of compass to find out the directions. Or they can also figure out without compass, through difficult calculative methods, strong presumption, power of presumption, which direction they are moving. It's not easy for them. But for birds, those migrating birds, quite easy. Just flying, guided by the intuition, natural intuition of the directions. Maybe they have, actually they have the higher sensation, higher sensitivity into the natural environment and surroundings, what they're flying through. They can remember, they can catch that frequency, and they fly accordingly, guided by that. So much so, not only they fly across the whole thousands of miles and go to a country, but same state, same location, same tree and same branch, they can recognize. Who gives this ability? Where from they get this beautiful, wonderful ability? See, apparently they're simply birds. See, world of intuitive knowledge is there. Higher power can guide us.
Sorry. Just let me to understand you. You mean I can give tasks to my mind?
You can give what?
Tasks.
Tasks
to my
mind, okay.
To work on it, like an idea, for example, and leave to him to develop it, to improve it.
Okay, you can do
like
it.
that.
Cultivation of mind.
And I can do something else at the same time.
Yes. When you discriminate, when you can be discriminative about within your own self, then you can, at some point, you can separate yourself from the mental faculty. That aspect of the mind running here and there, you can discriminate, separate yourself. Although still living in interrelationship. Okay. And do your own things. It is possible. Yogis follow that method, the technical ways to deepen their meditation or their concentrations. Okay. A subtle reality, but it's possible. Yes, please.
I find you
On some, yes.
very inspiring. How to increase self-love?
How to increase the self-love?
Yeah.
Through your own loving motivation. Through self-caring motivation, you can increase your self-love. I just answer in a word, just in a sentence. Now, if I analyze, just be conscious, more and more conscious about your own self. Try to be more and more conscious about your own self, all different aspects of this self, and find out which aspect of yourself needs more care and attention from you. Work out on that level, on that aspect of yourself. Okay. And just try to feel into your own being. Cultivate more awareness about your own self through the process of self-realization, intuitive process or self-evident process of self-realizations. more and more through your continued process of self-realization, you can also increase your knowledge. You can have more knowledge and ideas and feelings of loving yourself. You can cultivate. Through self-knowledge, self-realization, you can also cultivate the spirit of self-love. Okay. Sometimes you may feel, oh, I am just expressing things in a very sophisticated lingual jugglery. Spirit of self-love. So I have to express in some way. Spirit of self-love is also love itself. It cannot be fully separated. At the same time, it can also be separated in oneness and distinctions, simultaneous way. Very mystical. It happens in a mystical, wonderful ways. You have to feel it instead of intellectually understand what it is. Instead of making intellectual analysis of understanding, in other words, instead of trying to understand through intellectual analysis, technical analysis, try to understand this reality, how to care about your own self through feelings. Easier. Just cultivate love about your own self. Cultivate spirit of self-care and self-love. And you have that way also. Now, what I started analyzing, what I started telling you just before this, as I started explaining to you the higher reality, when you, through self-realization, when you realize about your better self in relation to the super soul, soul and super soul, not just, you are no more limited within the mundane concept of your own self. You follow what I say, but you discover yourself more into relationship of the higher self in the form of soul and super soul. Then concept of your self-care and self-love becomes more complete. Do you understand? Self-discovery is also needed, because often we do have a limited concept about our own self, because we don't have self-realization in true sense. So when we have just simply, when we simply have the very limited concept about our own self, without higher self-realizations, self-discovery, then the definition, concept of our self-love or self-care will also be likewise limited. But while you really want to cultivate, you want to have a self-care and self-love in relatively complete sense, then you also need to realize about your own self in a complete way. You need to realize about your own self more holistically. Okay, holistically. Then, yes, concept of feelings of your self-love also become relatively more complete and holistic type. So, it is very, very important to realize your own self in relationship with the Super Soul, Supreme God, Supreme Divine Being. Then you know how to love yourself. Then you know how to love yourself, take care of yourself in true sense, in higher sense. Okay. everybody eats, drinks, sleeps, but there are qualitative differences between which way one can relish the taste of eating or drinking or sleeping. One has deep slumber, one enjoys. In hunger, one enjoys, relishes the taste of the food so much and feels so much satisfied and appeased. In the time of thirst, or enjoys drinking so much. One who knows how to sleep, how to sink in sleep, also can know to smoothly go down into sleeping instinctively and also through insistence, through a process of falling asleep, one knows. But at the same time, many others also eating, drinking, sleeping, but it's not so satisfactory. Take the help of medicine. Not so satisfactory, not happening. Full-scale wave, no full-scale release coming. Both are taking care of his or her own self. But one way of the nature of the self-satisfaction is high class, other way is more limited, average type, not same quality. Similar way, there are differences, qualitative differences in the concept, applications of the self-care activities. Unless and until you realize yourself, discover yourself, realize yourself in relation to the Supreme Self, Supreme Divine Being, beloved Lord, your concept of the self-care will never be complete, never be proper. Therefore, self-realization in relation to God realization is very, very important for our complete knowledge, complete conception about how to take care of ourselves in the best way in relation to the ecstatic love relation with the Supreme. It is not, at that time, it's not a separate self-love care. At that point, it never remains as a separate aspect of self-care, self-love. Your self-care and self-love becomes inseparably interrelated, dependent on your love of God, love relation with the God. Taking care of your love relationship with God. Taking care of your divine self, eternally related with its origin, beloved Lord. Then you realize and become more holistic. Otherwise remains very partial type. Okay, any other query? Time has passed.
It's quarter to 10. I have a question, but I don't know how to put it so that it doesn't sound too silly actually. It's still about the mind thing. But anyway, sometimes, now I'm talking about my own experience in spiritual life, or you're chanting, you're reading, you come to the Nimaihuset once in a while. But once in a while, sometimes you enter a certain stage of mind that it becomes very hard to read something, it becomes very hard to chant, and it becomes very difficult to get my butt here to the Nimaihuset. And you feel like you want to give a certain distance to everything, which has got something to do with Krishna consciousness. But these things for me either can go two ways. Either I start to deviate more and more and more, or sometimes I can also feel that I am deviating. Maybe I haven't been chanting for maybe maybe even 3 weeks. Yeah, I haven't cared about anything with Krishna consciousness. I don't want to visit Nimaihuset even. Yeah, but it has also happened that after such a period, suddenly things change, and it changed very dramatically. You actually increase your wanting to chant, you increase your wanting to come to Nimaihuset, you increase your wanting for associate with devotees. So actually my question is, what happens in this period, during these weeks, when you feel that, oh, I need to keep a strong distance to everything that has got to do with God consciousness? But what happens during that time? If you suddenly pop up and you feel more inspired, you feel more energy to engage yourself in God consciousness, what is that which I sometimes, it feels actually very, very, very scary, really scary. Actually, what am I doing, you know? The affection is not there. It feels like it's gone, but suddenly, poof, it's there again, and even more powerful. What happens during this period? Is it something we have to go through, or is it very individual? Because it is said that in whatever circumstance, you should never quit chanting.
It depends on individual nature, individual ways also. May not be the same experience, but maybe similar. Similar common experience in many, but not the same experience. I mean, if somebody feels some apathy, reluctance, not a neutral experience, okay, I could not chant, I should chant, or not feeling apathy, then it's kind of a neutral state. You are not against, not having any antagonistic feelings, but the way you are talking now, something like antagonistic. You don't want. You become averse, so reluctant.
You feel like you should, but you somehow otherwise you feel, oh, okay, I skip it, you know.
Kind of reluctance.
Yes.
It's not, although it's not active antagonistic, it's a passive. A passive opposition, some way, in the background of your mind. It happens. It can be caused by many aspects of life. Okay, some of the individual notions, tendencies, also influenced by the environment. Okay, your wrong association, wrong occupations, strong material influence can happen due to the nature of your tasks. I mean, when I say environment, it includes all your duties, and you have got to do this, you have no more time. Okay, so busily occupied and controlled by the situation, hardly you have your time. Hardly you have time to look into yourself, even take care of yourself. You're just, somehow you're controlled by the situation and going on and on, whether you like or not.
That is correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
You know, this sort of situation in some way called as illusion. When we find the descriptions of the illusory energy of the Lord, functions of the illusory energy of the Lord, this is a very good example of that. Knowingly or unknowingly, we become influenced by some power of illusion and delusions. It happens, it influences our thought process, faculty of thoughts and feelings also, illusions. As long as we're under the illusion, we don't realize it to be illusion. As soon as by some natural ways of getting out of the illusion, it happens, like we fall asleep and wake up in a natural way. You don't have to do it. It happens by nature, by natural law of power. Okay. Many things we do in our life, not we don't control that. It is controlled by our natural biological ways. Okay. So otherwise, as you fall asleep, you do not have full control how you are falling asleep. You are being controlled by sleeping mode. Or as you wake up, you don't know. You are controller, controlling to some extent, but you are not fully controlling. Controlled by the natural law. Because you are sleeping, how you have no energy, you have no power to be awakened from that state. You have no awakening ability in the sleeping state. But from that state, you're slowly getting awakened by the help of the natural law. Many things, like for example, sleeping also, okay, hunger, thirst, many things, okay. It depends on, you are very happy, but still you are not hungry. You are very unhappy, you are hungry, hunger is lost. Sometimes you are very unhappy, but still some hunger comes. You eat. Very happy, no hunger. Very happy, very hungry. Works both ways, according to individual nature. Okay. So individual nature works in different way. Some say, oh, when I'm in anxiety, I eat a lot. That's why I take shelter in eating, ice cream and this and that. For other constitution, when in anxiety, cannot eat anything. It doesn't want to eat anything, it doesn't go inside. Different ways. Okay. For some it works when too much concerned, gets up, walks, runs, becomes restless. And for others, sometimes it's getting so disappointed, energyless, because due to concern, no more energy. Like fainting, going to faint. See? Same concern working in two different ways according to individuals. So things also depend. How you are going to feel things depend on individual ways. So I gave you the example of sleeping, how you fall asleep and waking up sleep, just to explain the reality. When you feel, when you grow feeling something like antagonistic or something, some reluctance from certain beneficial, very beneficial things in your life, by knowledge they are all beneficial, but still mind is so reluctant to do. And at some point you feel so encouraged again, so enthused to feel some taste to do that. Also happens by the activities of the illusory energy, which works in our life according to our karma, our deserving, our nature of deserving, how we deserve things according to our qualifications. Happens like that. So this is a very good example of getting illusioned and being under illusion or delusion temporarily. As soon as you come out of the illusion or delusion, you again feel taste.
Yes.
Okay. But again, after some time, you become under illusions, going on in a circle. There is a way to get liberated. There is ways to be, to receive liberation from that, get rid of such illusory influence, be liberated from such state of illusion. The very influential way to be liberated from the control of some illusion is the association, strongly, powerfully beneficial association. Okay. Then illusory energy cannot influence you. Just for example, at this point you are more awakened. I know, I can feel you love to hear such way of the Siddhantic analysis. It can go hours after hours, but still you won't have reluctance. The body may feel tired, you may get sleepy, you have to go, you have to eat something, but you won't lose likings for listening to such Siddhantic analysis because you care for it. This is some influence of the good association. I'm not saying I am a very good person or very good saint, but I'm just giving example of, I mean the Krishna Katha itself, the association, the environment of some beautiful Krishna Katha has a positive influence on your body, mind and spirit. Now energy of illusion won't work right now because of the holy influence of Krishna Katha. But as you go out of this, as soon as you go, may not be as soon as, still influence will linger, positive influence will be lingering for a while. But as you gradually go out of such influence, positive influence of Krishna Katha, then again you can be under illusion. Okay, that's how it happens. Again, so many are sitting here. Again, the individual feelings are varying. Because myself, yourself, we are having direct reciprocation. You want to go on and on and on, whereas others are feeling maybe it's a time for stoppage sometimes. Others may be feeling, just peeping out in the mind. Okay, we have to stop at some point when Maharaj is going to stop. But the next moment, the same person can feel other way around. As soon as some exciting question and answers coming, they say, okay, very nice. They forget about the thing of stopping due to influenced by the interaction, reciprocation. But if no direct reciprocation, hearing and hearing and hearing, and maybe feeling sometimes, oh, we need to stop. See, changing from one to another. Okay. I know, I can feel into Sevananda Prabhu's feeling. He has got both types of feelings. He likes to go on in this way, more and more. Other part of his consciousness saying, okay, we have to be a bit practical. Practical. Well, this is already 10 o'clock.
Say against you, but yeah, I feel that some people are going up, but
Yes.
I also feel that we can go up. Anyone can go up if they like.
Yes.
There's Prasadam and there's Kata.
Yes, you're so open up. You're so opened.
Yeah. So I think it depends on you, how much longer you want to continue. We are sitting here and we also want to take Prasadam.
Also somewhat depending on the collective feelings.
Please go on.
I can go on on one condition. You don't fall asleep. You cannot sleep. You have to follow each and every point I'm explaining. You cannot say, oh, sleeping calm, I'm feeling so tired. Just jokingly saying. Okay. Let it be concluded with a beautiful bhajan. Come. Sevananda Prabhu's beautiful way of singing bhajan.
Are we sure we don't want one more question?
No, okay. I'm sure. Okay. It's already 10 o'clock. Also record his bhajan.
Jai Srimad Bhakti Nandan Swami Maharaj.
Jai.
Thank you so much for another satsang, and thank you for these two satsang, for your visit here. So valuable that it is difficult to express in words.